We'll wait another minute before we actually begin, but we will do something. We depend on that clock on the wall over the door. Well, welcome to Oasis on this beautiful March 1st of 2023. Today we are celebrating old age. Some of you saw Al Hull's name listed as the leader today, and Al really wanted to do this, and he had some things in mind to do. Al and I met early in this year, and I'm Marie Willoughby, so I'm filling in for him. I'm helping with most of the scheduling for Oasis so far this year. And we have programs lined up into June, so we have a nice variety of things coming. I'd have no idea what Al had planned to share. So let's just take a moment to hold Al in our thoughts and prayers, because he's frustrated today, and so are we. So let's just remember Al for a moment. Take out the blue hymnal. As I said, I don't know what Al planned, but I have some things here, and I'm going to ask you to help out as we go along. Turn to the back where the indexes are, the topical index on page 870. That's pretty close to the end. 870, topical index. I was surprised to see that the topic, aging, is listed, and you can see that there are 8 or 9 hymns in this hymnal that are suggested if you're thinking about aging. We're not going to sing any of those, but I do want us to turn to number 479 now. 479. I just wanted you to see that this topic was here. 479 is Lord of Our Growing Years. The text is by David Mowbray, copyrighted in 1982. So it was fairly new when this hymnal was published in 1992. Did I say 1982? I hope. I'm going to ask you to read these words with me. There is a refrain, and we'll only read the refrain after the first and the last verse. So let's read about Lord of Our Growing Years together. Lord of our growing years, with us from infancy, laughter and quick-dried tears, freshness and energy, your grace surrounds us all our days. For all your gifts, we bring our praise. Lord of our strongest years, stretching our youthful powers, lovers and pioneers when all the world seems ours. Lord of our middle years, giver of steadfastness, courage that perseveres when there is small success. Lord of our older years, steep though the road may be, rid us of foolish fears, bring us serenity. Lord of our closing years, always your promise stands. Hold us when death appears, safely within your hands. Your grace surrounds us all our days. For all your gifts, we bring our praise. There are a lot of old people in the Bible. Who are some of the old people in the Bible? I'll repeat what you say. Methuselah. All right, he was the oldest one that we have recorded. Some other ones? Abraham. Moses. Sarah. Well, in Genesis 5, which takes up the whole chapter, and I'm not going to read it all to you, it's written the account of the descendants of Adam. Just listen to these names. Some you've heard and some you haven't. When Adam was 130 years old, he became the father of a son who was just like him in his very image. He named his son Seth. So we know that this was not the first son. And after the birth of Seth, Adam lived another 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Adam lived 930 years and then he died. Well, now all of us kind of pondered this in the past, and some people say, well, their years were not like our years. We won't know for a while. Let's go on. Seth was 105 years old when he became the father of Enosh. And then it tells us how old these people got. When Enosh was 90 years old, he became the father of Kenan. And he lived 105. When Kenan was 70 years old, get this, they're getting younger. And he was the father of Mahalalel. And then when Mahalalel was 65 years old, he became the father of Jared. Jared was 162 years old when he became the father of Enoch. Enoch was 65 years old. That's 100 years less almost. He became the father of Methuselah. When Methuselah was 187 years old, he became the father of Lamech. And Methuselah lived 969 years, and then he died. And Lamech was 182 years old when he became the father of a son, whom he named Noah. By the time Noah was 500 years old, he was the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All of that was before the flood. Uh-oh. So Abraham wasn't even in that list, was he? Because Abraham came after the flood. Do you remember the song, Father Abraham had many sons? Let's just sing a verse or two. I don't know the motions. If you want a motion, all right. Father Abraham had many sons had Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's just praise the Lord. And then you wave your arms and hands, and let's sing it again. Father Abraham had many sons had Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's just praise the Lord. Well, when do you get old? And how can you tell you're old? Nobody has an answer. What? Wrinkles. Oh, we get wrinkles. Okay, that's one sign of being old. What's another one? When you feel old. Oh, you feel old. How do you feel when you feel old? I don't know. I don't feel old. Do you? I'm going to bring the microphone around in a little while because I want some of you, not necessarily all of you, to tell us what you have done in the last 25 years, which might be the beginning of getting old for some of us. At least we passed the age of 65 for the most part. Maybe it's something you plan to do. Maybe it's something that has surprised you that you've been doing. But we're going to take a little time right now and just share our own stories. And I can tell you one right off. I was 66 years old when I was called by the church to be the district executive minister in Michigan. And I served that role for 7 years. So I was 73 when I retired from that job, which I didn't really have a regular job before that, except substitute teaching in the schools. So, and then just this last fall, when I was 87 years old, I got called again to be a worker for the South Central District as a co-interim district executive minister. So those are some things I didn't think I would do, but I was called to do. So who has a story of something that you did in the last 25 years you enjoyed, either you thought you would do it or you surprised?
I helped bring my twins into the world. I helped his mother while she was waiting.
Hey, that was Lois. Somebody else has a story, what you've done in the last 25 years? Something that surprised you, something you plan to do? Oh, we have to have some stories.
Being here, you never know how long you're going to be here.
Wonderful. We're all doing that, aren't we? That was another Lois. For those who are watching beyond here. You have a story? Tell us what you've been doing, Pauline. What have you been doing the last few years?
I've been here at Timbercrest.
Okay. Pauline's was a gardener. I don't know if you still get to take care of plants, but Pauline has had some beautiful garden flowers for us to see. We need somebody else. Jeanette, did you think you'd keep playing the piano as long as you have?
No, I didn't think I would keep playing.
All right. Yeah. Piano players, the people that help us out here in the chapel, um, it's a real blessing. And when I was thinking of piano players, I was remembering Edie Ferguson. Were any of you here to remember Edie playing the piano? You could always tell it was Edie. Joe?
Just about 25 years ago, I got married.
And that was a good thing.
It was a good thing.
It was a good thing. All right. Anybody else willing to say something that you've done in the last? Celebrate being old. David, do you have something? I'm going to walk back here.
Well, boy, putting me on the spot.
We can talk about the Seniors for Peace that you led.
Well, yes, at least in the last 25 years, we developed a program here on campus called Seniors for Peace. And we have the Seniors for Peace installed several peace poles around over the campus and have had a long series of events. And then it was, well, we all grew older.
Thank you. Anything else? And tell us about the Knit for Kids project.
Well, I never, I never thought when I moved into Timbercrest and approached Brian about Knit for Kids that it would take off like it did.
Okay, we have a lot of projects going. Anybody else? Ah, yes.
I appreciate the sewing room and all it does for the people here.
The sewing group, yes, and there's lots of things that happen that way. The quilting, the rug making, the mending, and we have artists too, people that are drawing and painting and doing things that they're happy to do at the age they are. Let's see, I had a story. I hope I can find it. I don't want to cut. Did you want to say something? This February, Reader's Digest had a section on old age. It said, getting the last laugh. Put this up here. This is from Valerie Labashi from Levittstown, New York. I'm 73 years old and a stand-up comedian. I took a class for the heck of it at age 70. I had meat in the freezer older than most of my classmates. To graduate, we had to perform in front of an audience, and I almost blacked out. But I was on a high after hearing the laughter of the crowd. Now I perform in restaurants, comedy clubs, senior centers, and other places. I even have an audition for America's Got Talent coming up. Who would have ever thought? And then from Glenn Jones in San Angelo, Texas. I was a high school football coach for 35 years. In a small Texas town, that means the highs are high and the lows are, well, you get the point. I was fired for not winning enough one season. Pranksters put for sale signs in our yard. It was tough to explain to my kids, who idolized their dad. One day, a neighbor gave me a note of encouragement with the word perseverance. That same day, I got a letter in the mail from my dearest friend, citing perseverance as well. That afternoon, I visited my wife's classroom, and the word was written on the board. That was 25 years ago, but when things got turbulent, I still remember that day. Perseverance. Well, 7 years ago, Flora Williams published this book, and she put several of the essays that I had written for her about getting old. And so Since you're done sharing, I'll read a couple of these to you. Remember, these were written 8 to 10 years ago, so my life's a little different. We're going away for the weekend, and we are looking forward to seeing the family. It never has been a breeze to just pack up and go, but as we get older, it takes quite a bit of planning, making a list and checking it twice or more. The clothes part is easy, but always take at least one extra set of things, especially underwear. One never knows. Toiletries aren't too bad either. A kit is often all ready to go. And don't forget a flashlight. You might even want to take a plug-in night lamp, which is easy to forget to bring back. And a charger for the cell phone is a must. It's the medicine tote bag that needs the most attention. Again, take no less than 1 extra day's worth of everything, and preferably more. Besides prescription meds, we include in the tote bag various other items that a small lidless box is for easy selection. Things such as lotions, wipes, pain pills, insulin pens, 3x5 cards, writing pens, nail clippers. This tote bag stays with us inside the car, not in the trunk or out of reach anywhere. Insulin that needs refrigeration goes into a small cooler with several cans of soft drink. This too stays within reach. The first aid kit stays inside the car as well. And we also prepare a notebook, a very thorough notebook with plastic sleeves. This handy dandy travel companion contains the following: our agenda with times and places, telephone numbers for the whole family, even though those numbers are now in my cell phone, contact information for our doctor, pastors, neighbors, and so on, maps, printed directions to locations we plan to visit, and pictures from Google Maps. We don't have a GPS. Our final wishes or end-of-life documents, copies of course, are in this notebook. And most important of all, several copies of lists of all our medications, names of drugs, times of day to take them, dosages, usage instructions, as well as contact information for all our medical people, names, addresses, telephone numbers. As to the medical and drug information, well, we have our own list, and I don't know if there's anywhere you can get a description of how you can tell which pill is which. That would take a lot of space, but pharmacists and nurses know. We carry several copies of these medication pages because they are handy to leave with anyone who needs to know, and this saves the person from having to write it all down. There's another list to check off before we leave our home. Unplug the computers and TV, water the plants, arrange for the mail, close the windows, lock the doors. These are good plans no matter what age you are. When we were younger, we would start out at any time of day. But now, the earlier, the better. Well, not before 8 or 9 in the morning. We plan for a couple extra hours of travel time in order to take more and longer breaks, rest stops, and meals usually. And we want time after arrival to rest up with feet up before doing anything else. It's also nice to do serendipitous things, like pull into an overlook and enjoy the scenery, or find a historic site and learn something, or look through a cemetery and make up stories. If we are on our own with more than a one-day journey, we will check into our hotel before supper or dinner to many. Then one of us will go out to find food and bring it back to the room. That's called dining in. Sharing the driving was still possible then. This may not always be the case, and it wasn't. We are aware that our traveling experiences will change as the years go on. And this came sooner than we wanted. Already, the kids, when I wrote this, were all in their 50s. They were saying, can you come on your own? Or do you want someone to come and drive for you? It's very nice of them to think of this and to offer. Distances and direction would make this kind of help a stretch for them and for us, but we'll take them up on it. We're taking a trip this weekend. Is it worth it? Should we stay longer so as to make worthwhile all this preparation? We did a 3-week trip less than a year ago. It went well because we took plenty of time and enjoyed each day, each short day, that is. Never overload yourself. Say no often. Smile. Everyone has a camera. And then another one that's a little shorter. And my husband and I are not hindered by embarrassment and reluctance. We just have to ask for help when we need it, and there are those days when help isn't needed. For us, this more intimate caring for bodily needs began when my husband fell and broke both arms. Now, that happened in 2010. These are true stories, you know. Of course, the nurses and aides at the hospital and the care center tended to bodily functions initially, and he was 75 years old then, and I was 74. We'd been married for almost 52 years by then, and as most independent adults do, we took care of our bodily needs ourselves before this. There are many things that limit one's ability as the person ages. Falling is just one of the hazards of getting older, and it does happen more than we want to admit. Beside the disappointment of not being able to follow through on your plans for vacations and commitments, the results of falls put strains on the rest of the body and on your relationship with those around you. Depression, frustration, pain, energy level, they all change. All ebb and flow unpredictably. You yell, you complain, you apologize, you mope. Sometimes you even throw things and then feel very badly that you've done it. You just can't do everything you want to do. And you do things you don't want to do, both of you. But love never ends. And now it's time for it to grow. It grows in many ways that you never expected. For weeks, my husband had to have someone else feed him, which one can tolerate when both arms are in slings. However, on a continuing basis, my husband also needed assistance with bathing and toileting. These are not nearly as easy to manage, both in the giving and in the receiving. As healing occurs, not everything comes back as it was before. Limitations continue in many cases, so the need never goes away. Bathing can be worked out. Getting at all the private places can be learned and accepted. It can even be a joy to help each other manage these things. Washing, drying, applying lotions, putting on support stockings, whatever it makes to have comfort and relief. Toileting can be a problem. Holding a urinal so it works just right. Wiping a bottom isn't fun for anyone, even doing it yourself. There is need, and we accept it and go on with it. We've done this for our infants. Now we do it for our spouse. To be willing and ready to help when the need occurs without anger, rancor, or regret is so important. These things take only a few minutes of our time. Doing them willingly and lovingly and not making any kind of fuss about it all can make our older years together sweet. Tender, loving care is always important, but especially now as we care for one another. What do I, as a caregiver, get in return? Maybe a back rub or a foot massage, many words of appreciation, a relaxed and non-resistant patient. The one receiving these ministrations helps the caregiver so much by having an accepting attitude. After all, what else can we do but what needs to be done? Someday, it may be my turn to need this kind of intimate help. Remembering, accepting, loving, aging. You can decide how you face this. Be kind. Now we're going to sing what used to be Faith of Our Fathers in the Blue Book on number 413. It's called Faith of Our Martyrs. You can sing whatever words you want. 413, and Nan is going to accompany. This quote from Albert Einstein showed up on Facebook yesterday. Do not grow old, no matter how long you live. Never cease to stand like never cease to stand like curious children before the great mystery into which you were born. Thank you for being here.